A couple of you have asked what is on my TBR cart, so I have it right here with me. But I'm gonna fill it up and put some more in there. So we're gonna kind of work on this together. I have a double-sided because, well, you know, books and just all of the things that I want to read and I want to get to. So I have made 2 videos already about the books that I want to read this year, kind of reading my shelves, and then the classics that my daughter and I want to read this year. So without further ado, I have little boys' animals right here. I have my cart right here, and I just have this top one, and so we're gonna work together and kind of fill it up, if you will. I was putting all of the classics on top because I don't really want to get them in and out, and this is like more protected here, so I want to stick with that. Are Laddie by Jean Stratton Porter. And Jean Stratton Porter is one of my favorite authors. She wanted to be a naturalist and kind of write about nature and everything like that, but during her time it just wasn't what women did and what she would be allowed to do. But she learned that if she was an author, people would take her seriously, so she became an author. So I have Laddie, A True Blue Story. And I have Robin by Frances Hodgson Burnett, who wrote Secret Garden, Little Princess, Little Lord Fauntleroy, and I do not know anything about this. She had written this book and I requested it from one of my online sources. I Will Repay. Again, a lot of these I'm just going to start putting in here. I made that classics video and you can see it linked below, above, and whatever. By Elizabeth Janet Gray. Some people will recognize in the homeschool community this author's name because she wrote Adam of the Road, which is used in a lot of homeschool curriculums. But this is young Walter Scott, who wrote like Rob Roy and Ivanhoe. And then pretty much everything else I have here is in really good condition. Let me just make sure. Yeah. So anyway, these I'm kind of protecting, and I have some of the other books that I want to read on a stack near me. So, okay, some of the other books that I would like to get to this year that kind of fit that classics category. Since I have classics going, I'm going to keep it going. North and South. The Blue Castle. This is one of my favorite covers. Silas Marner. Mother Carey's Chicken. Jane of Lantern Hill. Emily of New Moon. A Tangled Web. Magic for Marigold. Pat of Silver Bush. Mistress Pat. So these are pretty much the classics that I have that I want to read. So I'm just going to go like that and I'll put some more on the side. This on my second shelf. So this shelf here, I don't have a whole lot here because I've been slowly working through them. But this one, this right here is the Read Your Shelf Challenge that Chantal from An Intentional Living is hosting on Hey Reader. And so a lot of these I have, you know, marked and ready for that. And so they're not easy to get in. But, so that's what all of these are for. Right here, because I'm working on May. And then some of these are like non-fiction that I would like to get through. So Lift High the Cross, the theology of Martin Luther. I picked this up at a thrift store for like, I don't know, a quarter. And I was not born a Lutheran, so I thought this would be kind of insightful for me, especially since my husband is in seminary to become a Lutheran pastor. And this is professor of theology at Concordia Theological Seminary in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is not too far from me, but it is not the seminary that my husband is going to. So that's one that I would like to get to. This one is Loving My Actual Life, an experiment in relishing what is right in front of me by Alexandra I'm not even going to try to say that name. I will butcher it. So these are a couple of nonfictions that I have. And with those nonfictions, I will add Last Child in the Woods by Richard Louv. And I've heard mixed things about this book. So this will be interesting. But I do want to read it and kind of formulate my own opinion. Another nonfiction I have is I'm really interested in the Romanovs, kind of, I would even go so far as to say like conspiracy that was kind of going on with the Anastasia and all of that. So this goes back to 1847, and this is the Romanov women. And so I recently read Romanov Fantasy, and I did a review on that. There was just some issues that kind of left me hanging. So I'm hoping that this will kind of reveal some of the stuff that the book left out and whatnot. So that's one that I would like to get accomplished. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get any more in here. I still have this top shelf to kind of work on and this stack of books here. So let me start off with, I have 3 middle grade that I was trying to read during middle grade March. Some of them I have started, like this one. This is Starry River of the Sky by Grace Lynn. This is the second in the Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. That's the second one. Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. This would be an easy read if I just sat down and do it, but it is in free verse, and I don't like free verse. But I am determined to get that done at some point. And then I have Laurie Halls Anderson, the author of Fever 1793, which I really did love. And this is her Chains, and this is actually the Seeds of America trilogy. So there's 3 books in here: Chains, Forge, and Ashes. And then some places I've seen that Fever kind of goes along with this as like a companion novel. So I would like to read all of those. We own a few, but I don't think this is the one that I own. But we own these. We're working through these True Colors, my daughter and I, and this one is The Gray Chamber by Grace Hitchcock, and I believe this is about Nellie Bly. Kind of the whole, which you won't like, because this takes place in like a mental institute, and you're like, about that. So, but I'm pretty sure, yes, this kind of goes into Nellie Bly. So this will be really fun how this author's take on Nellie Bly, who basically pretended she was an insane person to kind of bring to light the asylum's issues, for lack of a better word. So
these are the rest of them.
But this one I haven't read. This is my TBR card. I did read these ones though. Red Ribbon, Green Dress, and Black Midnight.
Oh, and then there's a purple dress.
And the purple dress I have to read. So, but I think all of these are grandma's. And then the other book, I have only found one. I found this at our used bookstore, so you can take the books in for credit, and then you can like use that credit to purchase more books, which is what I did, because you get like $30 in credit or $10 cash, and I'm like, give me the credit. So and then I just kind of recycle it. But this one I've heard really good things from. First I heard it from Chantal, and then I've been hearing it more and more. But this is If I'm Found, and I think it's the second or third one. It's not the first one. I think the first one is If I Run. So hopefully I can get that. But right now, I just have this one. Let's see. I've already talked about this one in, I believe, the books that I want to read this year. This is by Elizabeth Kostova, and this is The Shadowland, and this is the story of a young American woman, Alexandra Boyd, has traveled to Sofia, Bulgaria, hoping that life abroad will salve the wounds left by the loss of her beloved brother. Soon after arriving in this elegant East European city, however, she helps an elderly couple into a taxi and realizes too late that she has accidentally kept one of their bags. Inside, she finds an ornately carved wooden box engraved with the name Stoyan Lazarov. Rising the hinged lid, she discovers that she's holding an urn filled with human ashes. As Alexandra sets out to locate the family and return this precious item, she will first have to uncover the secrets of a talented musician who was shattered by political oppression, and she will find out all too quickly that this knowledge is fraught with its own danger. So I read that, and I got this, I think, for like $1 at a thrift store, and I needed to read this. So, but this is a big book, so we're just gonna go like this. Another book that, another author I have recently discovered and found that I really love is Susan Meisner, and this is the last year of the war, and you know what, that's all I need to know. I know it's World War II and we're kind of getting over World War II, but I really liked As Bright as Heaven. I thought that was really well done, and the more I'm learning about Susan Meisner and her books, the more I'm just wanting to read them all. So I have this one to read, and then I am working through Agatha Christie. So as I find Agatha Christie books, I'm reading them. This is another Poirot mystery, which is pretty much the only Agatha Christie that I have right now. But what I've been doing is I read the book and then I watch the TV show, because I have loved the TV show since I was a teen. I just love Hercule Poirot and his arrogance, and he's just a funny, cute guy, and I love him. And I wasn't really interested in reading Hercule Poirot. I just love David Suchet portraying him. But Richard Armitage does a reading of Hercule Poirot, and I love it so much. So I've been wrapped into reading it. So I found this one, and this is Elephants Can Remember. So I am now interested in reading Hercule Poirot. Okay, and then I kind of talked about this down here, but obviously I can get at least one more book here and 2 books here. So I'm going to go grab 2 books to add here, and I'll show you what those are. I have a whole shelf of books that I have not read. Actually, I have 2 shelves, and they're like stacked deep of books that I have not read and wanted to read. So I'm pulling from those and then filling my cart with those. So I have The Other Einstein by Marie Benedict, and I was really excited about this book, and then somebody reviewed another book written by her, and I don't remember what book it is, and she did not give it a good review, and some of the things that she didn't like about it, I was like, oh, that's the kind of thing that would bother me too. And it would be a writing thing, not necessarily the story telling. So I'm kind of curious now if I will like this. So we'll see. We'll see. And then I have The Truth as Told by Mason Butthole by Leslie Connor. And I don't know anything about this. This won the National Book Award. It was a National Book Award finalist. But Mason Butthole is the biggest, sweatiest kid in school, and everybody knows he can barely read or write, but Mason's learning disabilities are compounded by grief. 15 months ago, Mason's best friend, Benny Kilmartin, turned up dead in the Butthole family orchard. As an investigation drags on, and Mason can't understand why Lieutenant Bard won't believe the story Mason has told about that day. Mason makes a new friend, Tiny Calvin Chumsey, who is also relentlessly bullied by the other boys in their neighborhood. When Calvin goes missing, Mason finds himself in trouble again. He's desperate to figure out what happened to Calvin, and eventually Benny. But will anyone believe him? So I think this would be a really good middle grade book to read. I have this one I've been dying to read forever. Susan Meisner, Bridge Across the Ocean, and I believe this is about the German woman that came to America after World War II to get married, and then tragedy happens. So, February 1946, World War II is over, but the recovery from the most intimate of its horrors has only just begun for Anneliese Lane, a German ballerina desperate to escape her past, and Simone Devereaux.
German ballerina?
Simone, and she, for the longest time, she was classified as a Christian writer, so she may be okay for you to read. Simone Devereaux, the wrong daughter of a French resistance spy. Now the 2 women are joining hundreds of other European war brides across the renowned RMS Queen Mary to cross the Atlantic and be reunited with their American husbands. Their new lives in the United States brightly beckoned until their tightly held secrets are laid bare in their shared stateroom. When the voyage ends at New York Harbor, only one of them will disembark. Out of all these women, only one will disembark. Like, what? What's going on here? Present day, facing a crossroad in her own life, Brett Castlake visits the famously haunted Queen Mary at the request of an old friend. What she finds will set her on a course to solve a 70-year-old tragedy that will draw her into the heartaches and triumphs of the courageous war brides and ultimately lead her to reconsider what she has to sacrifice to achieve her own deepest longing. So, I'm so interested in that one. And then this one is from Sand and Ash by Amy Harmon. And this was recently this was recently reviewed by Books and Jams. And I have seen this so many times. I find books on Kindle that are discounted for a Christian website. And this one constantly comes up, but I do not know if it's actual Christian because it's told from a Jewish perspective, but that doesn't mean that it's Christian content in the sense that there is no language, no smut, no whatever. And Krista gave it a raving review. I've been wanting to read it. I checked online just to see what the cost was, and I found this used copy for, I want to say, $4 shipped to me, and that was a really good deal. So I purchased that, and I would like to read that. So that kind of takes care of this. I know I could get another one in here, but I really don't want to. So this, and the classics that I shared with you. Now let's go to the second shelf down here. So this shelf has, is a hodgepodge. Let's be real. It's kind of what I can fit in here. So I have Money Making Mom, which is a book that I wanted to read this year. Free to Focus by Michael Hyatt, which is another book I wanted to read this year. 4 Hour Work Week, not a fan. And then this is Prudence Crandall, A Woman of Courage by Elizabeth Yates, who has quickly become one of my favorite authors. The Story of Liberty by Charles Coffin, The History of the Reformation. This is The Impossible Knife by Laurie Halls Anderson, who wrote the Chains book. And this is about a teen kind of living with her dad who has clinical depression. So I thought that would be interesting. This is Kristen Hanna's The Great Alone, another one that I really want to read and haven't done yet, especially now that I have recently read The Four Winds. I really want to get this read because I loved The Nightingale and I liked most of The Four Winds. So that needs to happen. Philippa Gregory also needs to happen. I have Rita Sepetys, Salt to the Sea, that I still haven't gotten to yet. I can't believe that. I really thought this would have been read by now. But it's May 1st today and I still haven't. I started this book, A Castaway in Cornwall by Julie Clausen. And this has a lot of what I would say is Poldark vibes. As I was reading it, there's a lot of it that makes me think of Poldark. And I don't know, like the storyline isn't the same, but there's something about it. And I really like Julie Clausen. Her original books, she kind of got a little Lori Wick for me where she had some really strong good ones and then she was just trying to get some books out. And then I think she's kind of getting more back to writing, finding her strengths in writing again. But The Lady of Milkweed Manor was so phenomenal. I loved how she addressed some hard topics during that our Christian culture just wasn't addressing. And then again, like I said, it kind of got redundant in her stories. But the last one I read, I did enjoy. And it was like this mystery. And how did this lady commit it if she's terrified to step off this island? And who really did it and whatnot. This one is going to be... I don't think this is going to be another one that I really like of hers. I'm starting to read it. And it has a lot of the... overused, she's not the favored, there's a daughter that's favored, and she's kind of the shoved aside one, and just like, I'm kind of getting over that, so we'll see how this one turns out. this is a set that my mother loaned me, and this I can't wait to read this. This is Elizabeth Elliot's story from Persuasion, Anne's sister, and then So Rough a Course, So Lively a Chase, the lady must decide. And this tells the story of Elizabeth Elliot, who is Anne's sister. And then here is my lowest shelf. So I have Pillars of the Earth by Kin Follett. We'll see how this goes because I've been warned about some things. And oh my. Okay, so this is The Princess by Lori Wick. And this is just the sweet story of, let's try to get this in the, okay, so this is the sweet story of a woman that marries a prince and just learns to love her husband even though he's grieving for his dead wife. Kind of your typical story, but there's so much wisdom in this book, especially with her in-laws, and then balancing the respect that she needs to give and all of those stuff. So this is one of my favorites from high school that I want to reread. I recently returned to my TBR cart. My grandmother asked me to tell you she's sorry. I have started it, but honestly, I'm just not in the mood for this. So I'm putting this back on here, and I'll try to pick it up a little bit later. White Guilt, Faith and Treason. This is about Guy Fawkes. This is The Time Machine. This is Dr. Zhivago. This is one of the ones that I really, really wanted to read this year, and we'll see if I get to it. Adorned by Nancy Leigh DeMoss Wolgamos. These are two of Jen Wilkins' books. I really, really love Jen Wilkins. So this is kind of like my, from here past is more like a personal growth. This is The Millionaire Next Door. This is Dave Ramsey's Enter Leadership. So like entrepreneur leadership. Radical by David Platt. This is a book that I've heard a lot of people, let's see, there we go. A lot of people talk well about. I don't know if I'll like it. To be honest, if it's highly praised in the Christian community, I tend to either love it or hate it. So we'll see on this one. I'm actually going to put this on the top shelf just so that I get it done. And then the other book that I have, I actually won in a huge Christian book giveaway. And so I was one of the winners for this author. This is Love Pact, I think that is. With Love Pact with the Hero. And I believe this is actually, yep, this is even autographed to me. So that's really fun. I have never read anything by this author. But I have to say, like, when I was reading some of her book, her talk about some of the books and why she wrote it, it was part of this big giveaway. It was really fascinating, and I'm really curious about this. So I'm actually even going to move this to the second shelf next to that Christian fiction book by Julie Clausen. Okay, so now I have some books down here. This is also another one that I wanted to read this year, and it's not on the shelf, so I need to make sure that it gets put back. I'm actually going to move that to the second shelf. No, it's like, I don't want to move too much in here because it's hard to get out. That really should be put on that second shelf. So, and then, so let's see, if I move these down a little bit, then I can, you know, add a few here. This is Just Mercy for Young Adults by Brian Stevenson. When I got this, I didn't realize this was adapted for the young. I really had wanted the unadaptable, whatever you want to call it. So this will be interesting. It'll be interesting. I would like to try to find a unabridged, this is what I would call abridged, but an unabridged copy of the original, and then just, if I like it, I'll share it. We'll see. I think Bill Bryson wrote a book about going into the woods, and I think that was him, and my friend told me I would not like it. So this will be interesting. I have this one, a Jewish medal. This is the Berlin Boxing Club by Robert Chernow. And that's pretty much all I have. I believe it's about the Jewish boxing club that was able to basically be saved during Nazi occupation. And this is pretty, I do like to have a little bit of room. It just makes things easier to get out here. And we'll just add a few books to it because obviously Time Machine is sticking way out here, so I'm not going to be able to put a whole lot. So I have Kira Kira by Cynthia Kadohata. When Katie and her family moved from a Japanese community in Iowa to the deep south of Georgia, it's Lynn who explains to her why people stopped them on the streets to stare. And it's Lynn who, with her special way of viewing the world, teaches Katie to look beyond tomorrow. That's that one. It really should be with like my Newbery, or it should be up on the top shelf with my Newbery, but I'm not going to. I have The Nesting Dolls by Alina Adams. This is Odessa, 1931. I actually, fun fact, I have a second cousin, I think it is. Or is it? I think it's actually, I have a cousin. I just don't know how it works with the second, the first, whatever. Twice removed, all of that. Yes, Yesisma. But I have a cousin, Odessa, who is living in Romania. And so I thought this would be really fun. This is actually takes place in, this takes through Siberia, Brighton Beach, and this is a Russian Jewish family. So we're just going to put that in there. Mere Christianity probably actually shouldn't even be on the shelf. It's one that I will be working through with my daughter, my youngest sister, and my mom. We're going to have like a little book club and we're going to read Mere Christianity. So I have this on the stack to add to this, but I'm actually going to put it on my, we're working through the stack. So that will be fun. I have the second book to the Pages and Co., The Lost Fairy Tale. And I think the third one just came out, but I have this one. And we'll see how this one goes. I really loved the first one, but I've heard mixed things. I've heard mixed things about the next two. So we'll add this one. See, I'm feeling like it's okay. We'll go like this. We're not going to be able to fill this too much. Oops, I'm back down here. See, they have to go in like crookedly. He wrote The Trumpet of Krakow, I believe it was, which I haven't read, but it's one that I've been dying to read. Oh, look at that. I love finds like this. Anyway, I don't foresee me not liking this. I think this is going to be one of those authors that I really do like. So I have that one to go through. I've heard so many mixed things about this, but it sounds really interesting. And it's what happens if Hitler had won World War II. And kind of, I think this is a present day. I've got some kids starting to mow the lawn, and so that's what you're going to hear in the background. But I believe this is actually, no, this is 1956, and this is what would have happened if Hitler had won the war. So that will be, I'm really, really, really curious about this one. I've been wanting to read more Joseph Conrad, and I have a few of his books. This one is, Jim Conrad. I said Joseph Conrad. Jim Conrad, which Jim is short for Joseph, right? So does it really matter? Anyway. This one's On the Road to Tetlama, and this is Mexican Adventures of a Wandering Naturalist. So if what I had researched is accurate, Jim Conrad, it's kind of like another Eleanor Stratton Porter, and he liked to kind of weave nature and science and natural science into his books, and so I thought this would be really interesting, just to kind of read more of his books. So I have that one. That one I think I'm really gonna enjoy. I'm not sure. We'll see. I think there's also some cultural things in there that may, if I put it in the cultural aspect, I'll get through. But anyway. My mom got me Stepping Heavenward. This is the copy that I read when I was young. And this is one of my favorite stories. It kind of tells this, this is one of my favorite books. It tells the story of a young girl who's kind of forced to keep a journal, and she starts off hating it, and and all of that. And then you actually get this girl's journal from that time to becoming a woman, to being a young mother, and then so on and so forth. And it's just, like I said, it's one woman's journey to godliness, and it's so accurate. And I had a terrible reprinting of this book. So I want to give you, this is a Barber printing, and it's small, but it is so moving, so inspirational. I highly recommend this book. First of all, I have an Agatha Christie on this top shelf up here. I'm pointing to it, but you can't really see it. But there, I've got Agatha Christie up here. So I know there's a little bit more room up there, so I'm actually gonna put They Came to Baghdad by Agatha Christie, another one that I picked up on credit from my local bookstore. But this one has nothing to do with like Poirot or Miss Marple. This one is Baghdad, ancient capital of the East, where old and the new mingle in the teeming streets and dark alleyways, where international politics and big businesses go hand in hand, and intrigue and deception are a way of life. Well, that doesn't get you all interested. Here's some more. Lovely young Victoria Jones came to Baghdad seeking romance, but in the strange, exotic city she made one wrong turn, and suddenly there was murder and terror wherever she turned, and a mystery she knew she would have to solve or die. So we have that one, and I'm just going to add that next to my other Agatha Christie, because it's thin enough and we can do that. So, okay, I've got, like I said, I think I've got like one or two more, so I'm going to add this one because I really want to read this one. This is News of the World by Paulette Giles, and this was a National Book Award finalist, but recently they have made a movie from it starring, it has Tom Hanks in there, and I love Tom Hanks as an actor. And when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, I am really interested in this book, and so, or in this movie. So now I want to, read the book first. So I have that. This was I think I got this at that bookstore too. I've heard a lot of good things in the Christian community about Nicole Deese, and I do not know where I got this. But I have this. It might even be borrowed from my mom. So, Mom, if this is yours, leave a comment below, because I do not recall where I got this. I just found it on my TBR shelf. So, I'm going to give Nicole Deese a try. And pretty much, y'all, that is what I have on my TBR cart. Let me move this up. So, like I said, it's pretty full now. A lot of these are books that I had wanted to read this year, so that'll be kind of fun to choose some books for that. I do have 3 more books that I pulled out here to add to the cart if there was room, but I'm not going to stuff them. Y'all, tell me if I'm going to like this. Their Eyes Were Watching God. I have no idea. I have a feeling it will be one of those that it's a classic that everybody loves, and I'm just not going to get. Like, it's going to go over my head. All of that, I just don't foresee me. I don't know. It's one of those that I want to try because it's on every list of like 100 books you should read and whatnot. But we'll see if I ever get to it. Another Joseph Conrad with a wonderful cover. I mean, that cover just looks like something that I would definitely pick up. But this one is Nostromo is the only man capable of the decision action needed to save the silver of the Santum mine and secure independence for Saluco, Occidental province of the Latin American state of Costaguana. And his integrity as unassailable as is his integrity as unassailable as everyone believes, or will his ideals, like those who have inspired the struggling state itself, buckle under the economic and political pressure? So that's Joseph or Jim Conrad. There's a lot of background noise, so let's get this finished. The other book that I had to try to put up here is Daughters of Fortune by Isabel Allende, who I've seen a lot about, or I have seen a lot of her works everywhere, but I don't know if I will like her. I picked this up at the used bookstore because this is the book that I have seen everywhere, and I accidentally picked up another one of her books, which I think is like second to this one or second to a book. So I really want to see what she has to offer. So those were 3 other books that were possibly going to go on my TBR cart. This is going to be a very long video. Hopefully I can edit pretty well, but for those of you that had wanted to see, there's what it is. And so when I choose like TBRs, which I'll be honest, those TBR videos are just really hard for me. I tend to find that I don't do them. I have intentions to do them, but I am definitely a mood reader, so I can't just pick up anything and read it. I need to be like interested and passionate about it, and even still halfway through it I'll be like, I can't get through this. I'm done, and put it away. So any of these books interested you? Leave them down below. Tell me some of your favorites that you like to read, and oh my goodness, did I have a variety of books in here. So thank you for watching, and until next time, have another cup of coffee and read another chapter. I have a lot to get through. Bye.